Hey guys, welcome back to Raw Focus. I'm Jeremy. I own Jeremy Lou Photography, father, entrepreneur. I'm just a guy that does stuff a lot on social media, and this podcast is really about normal people doing normal things. So we today was fun. Today was a fun one. We got some really bad news yesterday from our governor that we're not going to be able to reopen until middle May at the minimum. It's probably going to be June 1st, which scares a ton of us self-employed people because we don't have any money and we have no way of getting money and we're not allowed to get money. So we're kind of stuck in this little boat right here. But I'm in Reno, Nevada, and that's kind of the news that's going on right now. New stimulus is coming out, and I know that this is not the sexiest thing to talk about, but this is what's going on in my life, and this is what I'm thinking about all the time. So hopefully PPP comes through, hopefully my loans come through, hopefully something happens where I will get something back. So I'm waiting for it. But we just got done with doing Brandon DeRiso's Raw Focus Live on Facebook that you guys are going to hear right after my intro here. And it was a very, very fun conversation. I don't know how long I've actually known Brandon. We didn't talk about that. We've known each other for a while through certain circles. And I've always found him very interesting. I've always found his conversation very, very good. Actually, I envy his conversation because he can talk about anything, and I feel like he's knowledgeable to everything he talks about, where I feel like I kind of spam and go through and say a lot of yes, get it, totally understand, interesting. I say words like that. And he has a great voice, and he's big in the music industry, but he's also like that guy that's done everything, right? So he's a guy that you can add basically to any project, and he's going to do well at. We talk a little about his wife, yoga, his water drinking. He has 2 daughters, and Corona life, COVID-19, and what they're going through and how he sees everything. So really, this is just a general conversation. This is my first guest that really doesn't have anything to push per se, doesn't have really any agenda that's going on. He just is on the podcast because I know him. And that makes for a really good, candid conversation. You guys will laugh, cry, maybe throw up. I do not know. And we talk about him and how he got he gave his autograph to David Navarro, and how somebody autographed his eye patch because he is blind in one eye and he used to wear an eye patch back in the day. But that's it, guys. If you guys are new here, please subscribe, share, comment, post, whatever you can do on this. And then, of course, all the notes for everything that you need are in the notes section and how to get a hold of me for any future podcasts or anything that you guys may need. But without further ado, here is Brandon DeRiso.
Sure that I didn't screw up the frame having it turn, because I just
not at all. Yeah, so I mean, it looks pretty.
I'm coming at you sideways a little bit because how's the volume on that?
It's pretty good.
Here we go.
Yeah, when you don't talk, you can hear it well. Right.
Okay, so if I just.
Are you gonna play me music?
Well, I don't know. I just thought I brought a couple things, honestly, dude. I was like, if we're just gonna sit and chat for first of all, that's awesome. It's just a hangout. So I also brought, in case something's funny. I brought one of these. Mostly, this is just for my own kind of personal satisfaction.
Right. Oh yeah, I have one of those. That's my old massage technique. I actually had it in here for a while. I would do it on the kid.
And if you don't mind, I had to make the light a little brighter. Ordinarily, I don't walk around in this much light. I have one of my eyes is blind.
Right.
So I'm going to wear these probably most of the time.
Live a little. Here. And I mean, you can make it bright. You don't have to make it bright, whatever you want. It's, we can see you pretty well. And I think everything adjusts pretty well, pretty easily.
Okay. Well, you look good. You've got a nice little setup there. Good for you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's nice. It's fun. Tweaked out. Got a new microphone yesterday. Yeah, this is my 3rd-car garage.
That's
so
cool.
Right behind me is the garage. It's one of the 2 and then the 1. So that's the garage right now. It's kind of a mess with the Corona, everything. We kind of threw everything in there, so we had more room inside. But yeah, we kind of had it built, and this is technically my office where I do all my editing and stuff.
Okay.
So we've transitioned it. And I film all my YouTube videos and stuff in here, so we kind of bring it together. So it works out
That's
pretty
nice,
well,
man.
man. Yeah, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, dude, this is cool. This is a hard time to be alive,
Right.
and it's a hard time to be doing things. And you're doing something nice for people that doesn't. I mean, you're just kind of helping people get through their day in a nice way. That's really cool, man.
Right. Yeah. And, the podcast has been fun. I put a little post today too. If anybody wants to join the podcast, we're going to talk about small businesses and all that later on. A little 30-minute segment so people can push their business, just because, with the announcement yesterday that we don't have a definite day when we're coming back, is insane.
Yeah. How was that in your house? That was rough in my house.
So, well, we're both self-employed. So self-employed, but here's the other thing. Like, if school can't go back, we still can't work because we're both self-employed. So the kids are at home. If daycares can't open, we can't go to work. I mean, at least if I could work alone or something, that'd be fine. So I don't know what we're going to do because we haven't gotten any SBA loans. We haven't gotten unemployment yet. We haven't really gotten anything. So we're just we're all at a little struggle right now. But we'll make through it. And, now I'm just it's the morning time, so I'm a little more optimistic. But we'll have to see, to be honest. You guys were struggling with it last night or yesterday?
Well, the whole thing is just a constant struggle. I run a lot of small operations, one-man operations. So one's of them a little food cart that goes out on the street. One of them's a little coffee shop in an office building and these types of things. And so what's happening is any unemployment benefits that any workers that I have get, that's sort of their thing. But I'm trying to supplement that along the way because these are already small operations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's the same. I mean, we haven't seen the unemployment benefits. Every day you get up, you call 7:45, 8 o'clock, you're in a queue. 8:21. Sorry, we've got all the calls we can handle for today. We'll talk to you another day. And so, I'm in a okay situation because thankfully my wife is essential, and actually
Heather,
that's who's.
I know, I like that pic. That's your guys' that's your profile pic on Facebook too.
Yeah, that's kind of that's if the inside of my heart had a picture, that's probably what it looked like.
Yeah.
But it's a funny thing. Your house becomes your office. Here I'm upstairs. We're doing our thing today.
Yep.
She's downstairs teaching second graders. I mean, it's just an odd time for everything. So every day is a constant change and struggle. And that's what is weird to me is the level of frustration for what's going on in the outside world. Mm-hmm. I'm in my home. I don't know anything except what Facebook's feeding me, and I sure don't trust that.
Right. You can't trust everything. Yeah, you shouldn't trust anything that people are posting.
So what can you do? You take it in the shorts. Here's what I do trust. I do trust that they will make good the word. The word is they'll log your unemployment as long as you've been filing it. So if that happens, that's great. I'll pray for that, and I'll pray for that for a lot of people. I mean, that's a thing that people really need to see, is they just need to see it happen. I think that's what happened with the stimulus is it did happen. It went out so quick. People were very happy.
Right.
They got to see something happen. And so, for me, I just barricaded out. Yeah, I started learning the piano last year. It was one of the reasons I brought it today, because I would be like a 6th grade piano player right now. That's probably my skill level. But it did, life got away from me doing concerts and coffee and hot dogs and all the things you got to do when you're self-providing. I can't imagine the both of you trying to do it. And, it's amazing how the backbone of society qualifies for so little.
I agree. I mean, and ultimately, I've always said, like, you're given what you can handle, right? So anytime you're given something new and you think you can't do it, you look back a year from now and you're like, yeah, I can't believe it actually happened. So that's how Lindsay and I are kind of treating this situation now. Is a year from now, we're going to be like, remember that 2 months when we couldn't work, we were struggling, we were, luckily we have our savings, we have, we've done well, but also this is not what I wanted to use my savings for. This is, the goal was go into retirement, invest it, go on vacations, do something with it. It wasn't because I'm not allowed to work.
I'd love for my kids to see some of it.
Right. Something. Yeah. Just kind of pushing it out a little bit. Brandon, how do you say your last name? Is it Doriso?
Doriso, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
And what a funny,
right.
Isn't that a funny name? It's the ultimate who the fuck is that guy name? Brandon Doriso. Who the fuck is Brandon Doriso? It's so much, it's kind of a word jumble. It's
right. I think of it like when I say it, I have to think of Dorito and then put the so. So I'm like
all
Dorito.
Through school.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you know what a funny thing, what you just triggered in my memory. I had a childhood friend growing up. His name was Derek. I guess, I don't know if you say people's last names on a thing like this, but.
No, you can. I mean, it's up to you, unless he's, hiding.
He was the first guy that made me feel good about the Doritos thing. Because I was like, everybody calls me Doritos. Why does everybody call me Doritos?
Do people call you Doritos?
Your last name sounds like Doritos. And second of all, man, who doesn't love Doritos?
Doritos are delicious.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Be so like, I'm nacho flavored, motherfucker.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, so Brandon, we're gonna start the live here pretty soon. Actually, I'll just kind of get it started. And like I said before, it's just a conversation between me and you. So we're gonna kind of go into it. I have literally no notes for you. These are your notes. It's just your name. So I'm gonna add stuff to go through. But I'd love to talk about current events. But I'd love for you to use this platform as a way to push out anything that you're doing, anything that you're feeling. And we'll kind of go on that vibe right there. So there's no rights or wrongs. I don't care about cussing. I don't care about any of that. So yeah, just kind of treat it like an hour of talking, and I'll end it with a little plug for you. But I'll do a little intro here in a second once I get set up. So do you need anything before we get started?
Well, I guess I just want to let you know what I'm doing here. Piano's here, the sound effects. I'm kind of in the mainframe. I've got the computer open, so I'm going to try to. Once you go live, I'm going to step over there. Actually, I'm going to step over there now.
I'll let you know when we get it started. I'll do and I'll do a little intro once I actually get started. So you'll hear me talking in the intro, and then just you can open that computer up and sit down whenever you're ready. But I'll keep talking to you. Sit down here. Let me just go.
Okay.
Raw focus. Just turn when you go onto the live. Once you see it, just turn off the volume on that because you'll hear the computer on the side. You'll double hear.
So I should be able to just go to your personal page and
yeah, just go there, and then I'll even tag you on it here. All right, I'm gonna go live here, and I'll intro. Yeah, just go to my page now, and you should be able to see it. Hey guys, welcome back to Raw Focus. I'm Jeremy, and we are hanging out with a good buddy of mine, Brandon Doriso. We were just talking about his last name, so a cool little story on that involving some delicious Doritos. Today's focus, guys, is simple. Brandon is first off, you're going to hear his voice, and it's very, very, very sultry. So it's nice to listen to. He has a piano. He has, these are for the podcast people that are listening to it. He has a piano. It's in his room, and he has like a little horn that he has as well. So he has a few things to do. When I asked him to do this, it was basically told as just a conversation. And Raw Focus is really my way of talking to people that I know that I feel like I don't know. So I feel like I go through life in social media. I go through and I talk to people, and people know about me through social media, through what I tell them, but I feel very selfish of not being able to tell people the personal aspects of it. So that's what we're going to do today, and it's going to be quite simple. But if you guys are listening to this will be a podcast called Raw Focus. You can find it on Apple and Spotify, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. I actually just put a post today. So if you're watching this right now on Facebook Live, and if you see the podcast, which will be about a month and a half away from when we're actually filming this, I'm looking for small local businesses, preferably in my area, Reno, Tahoe, but of course we'll do anything, anywhere. And what we're going to do is I want to give everybody a 30-minute spot. And so if you're a small business and you're watching this on Facebook Live right now, please shoot me a message. I have a post that I posted on my page. Shoot me a message and let me know that you are interested in being part of this. And I will give you 30 minutes. Me and you are just going to talk about your business, push everything out that you do, that everything's going on through the times, any specials or offers or gifts that you guys are pushing out there. That way we can get some support and get you guys out there to my network, which is quite large, if you will. That's what she said. Yeah. And we're going. All right, Brandon just sat back down. He had to go and adjust his computer, do some fingering on his phone over here.
You saw me fingering my phone?
I saw you fingering your phone, but I think everybody
Sorry
saw
about that.
and he's in a really bright room, which makes him wear. And do you have eye issues, or what's going on with the eyes?
So my right eye is totally blind. My retina detached about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago.
How does that happen? How does that even work?
Well, I mean, if we want to dive right into it,
if you want.
So I was upsetting someone, and I'm not really sure how this sort of occurred. I mean, I know how it occurred, but it's one of those things that, like, to look back 10 years and figure out. Yeah. But I found myself in a position where the guy was upset with me, and I kind of turned my back, and I caught one in the eye that I wasn't expecting, wasn't looking for. And,
oh my God, it's just from a punch?
Well, so what happened, this is kind of the weird part of the blindness. The punch did a fair amount of damage because I was sitting down like I am now, and he was over the top of me.
Right.
But the punch did kind of what it did. But then about a month later, there was a lot of bruising. And inside your eye, that tissue is just so delicate. I mean, you can't play with it if you ever get an eye injury. But there was some dried blood floating around in there because it's just bruising. And I was just bowling with some friends. And all of a sudden, you could literally see it peeling back. It was like total and complete blurriness on the bottom, and then a straight line through the middle, and my vision was on the top. So it was just kind of rolling back, and I went, oh, that's weird. Well, the weird thing is it was rolling from the bottom to the top because your eye sees in reverse. So, you know, it was a weird experience, but as a result, I get some pretty nasty customers of migraines, and recently with all of this stuff going on and the stress that you add to all of that, you know, it's triggered it's called an ocular migraine is what I've heard it referred to. But it sort of starts in the back where the muscles from your eyes are at work, and it just works its way to the front. You can feel it coming on. Once it gets there, I need to be asleep. So light has a lot of effect on that because the retina is not doing what it's supposed to do. So basically all that eye does is absorb light all day long, you know? So dude, if you want to make a camera frame that looks reasonable, it's got to be lit.
I mean, I don't like that, but I like that story. Do you, Amy wrote on one of the comments, you used to wear an eye patch?
I did, yeah. Yeah, actually, I went through this phase in my life. And again, you know, to talk about this side of my life, especially the person that doesn't know me, is kind of interesting because I'm able to kind of be light about it. But there were some things I was doing back then that was mistreating relationships. I learned some very hard lessons. It's how I learned to respect the kind of love that I have now with this family that I'm in. But the eye patch, I went through this phase where I really wanted to become a Bond villain because I had to wear the eye patch anyway. And I was at Nikki Beach one night, and I'll never forget. People sometimes, they don't realize how insensitive they're being. And it's, you know, we're starting to learn as you wake up into a culture, but it spreads so much farther than people are able to think about right now. I'm walking through Nikki Beach at a show that I actually was producing for an act called The Crystal Method. And some guy from 100 feet away in front of 200 people goes, "Nice eye patch, you douchebag." Just holler. Total implication that I was just wearing it for like the pleasure of wearing it. But it's, I mean, there's a lot of reasons that thing comes in handy, especially in these crowded places. You talk about all this COVID stuff. I was wearing the eye patch for a good amount of time. Because it just helps you to it helps people to understand why you're bumping into them. You know?
Well, it's I mean, I feel like somebody wears an eye patch, there's a story behind it. I feel like, you know, that's not like a common accessory for somebody that doesn't need an eye patch. You know, I just see people wear like, I remember wearing sunglasses. I was at a club in Los Angeles when I first met my wife. We were 21, 22. I was wearing sunglasses inside, and we almost got beaten up because I was wearing them inside. Because my eyes were super red from not sleeping all day, driving to LA, and then going to a friend's birthday party at the club. So I'm like, I'm not going to go in there with like dark red eyes. But they almost fought me because I was wearing sunglasses. It was just the weirdest thing. And I'm like, there's a whole song about that. Like, you know, when you wear your sunglasses at night. I'm like, I thought that's like a cool thing to do. Brandon, so we have a good hour together. And and you're part of a lot of stuff. Even just going through your Facebook and looking at your like about, I know that you have a ton of stuff going on. You consider yourself an entrepreneur?
I would like to consider that, but in my mind, an entrepreneur has money. You know what I mean?
No,
And I'm not quite
yes
there
and
to
no.
that
Yeah,
stage.
I
At least
think
the
we
size of
all
it.
start off. Yeah, no. I think an entrepreneur just likes to start businesses and do their own thing and run things. But like, I know that like, when I started, I didn't have any money. Like at this point, like I still don't feel like I'm where I want to be. But I feel like it has to be, you have to have that vision to push through, because you either can work for somebody or you have people work for you, or you work for yourself. Those are the three things that you have. And so
That's
I
what
can't
it
work for
is.
somebody else.
I joke, but the truth of the matter is, I mean, when you're a person who works for yourself and just tries to make every effort to continue to do that, you take chances. We did a yoga festival at the baseball stadium a couple of years ago. It was a great success in terms of how the event went. The baseball stadium wrote me this really nice reference letter.
Nice.
Respect the hell out of you. It was a really great experience, but I took such a hit on it that it was like, well, time to get a job. And that led me right down the path of Mellow Fella. So I started to become a chef. You know what I mean? And so I'm just sort of following this trail, but I designed a mousse package for a lady who had sold, 500,000 packages of instant mousse to Macy's or something.
Like
you never know
mousse?
what they said that they're going to do. You know what I mean? It's just
right.
what my part in your thing was. But you just kind of take what jobs are out there. And so, for now, it's like everything that I was currently doing has come to a screeching halt. So I either have to go start something new, which I'm thinking about. I've got like a lifelong project that's actually a storyteller's project that I've been working on for a while. I've got the music back in fact, we could probably do some of that too. I don't know. I've never done the freestyle version, but we could try anything.
Yeah. As long as you're comfortable with it, I'm totally game. So I know the owner, Ryan, over at Mellow Fellow.
Very good man. Ryan's a good man.
Awesome.
How
got
well
him
do you
and
know
Sabrina.
Ryan?
I shot his wedding.
Oh yeah, that's wonderful.
So I know Sabrina and him, and I actually just did his headshot for his new adventure a few weeks ago. And so I know him well. He's a good dude, awesome dude, and good restaurant. And I know that when I was shooting for Mint and Kind, well, I still do, just haven't been in a while. Shooting for Mint and Kind, I know that Mint had a kind of a good relationship with Mellow, and offering gift certificates or percentages off if you decide that you buy some weed and then you need some food, which is kind of how it should work anyways.
Well, you're hitting right on what I'm talking about, man. I mean, hold on, let's stop this here. I don't know how we got that. Did I lose you? Sorry.
No, you're good. I can still hear you the whole time.
It's relationships, you know what I mean? That block has a lot of them. You've got Nevada Brining over there. Matt Soder is a great person, great, Ryan Eller, as you mentioned, great person, Sabrina, all people that are just good people in our community. And that's the thing I think is important during the COVID thing, just as a sidebar. These are all people we live with and live around. Let them have their opinions. Let us have our thoughts. And still, let's talk on Jeremy Lou's show and, just talk about how things kind of look. Because that's what I personally was doing wrong in my life before, if I'm being honest. I just wasn't doing the relationships right. So now here I'm in a place where I can value that and take that a little more seriously and understand what it means a little better. And that's, that kind of thing goes a long way. He is a great guy.
I agree. Like, I will be the first to admit that I don't know everything, right? But I'm very, my ego is very high. So I feel like I have to know everything. I feel like people come to me all the time asking questions on how they should do this and that, and I always have to come up with an answer. And I think the last couple of years I've decided that I don't. So I need to reach out to people. I need to ask questions, and I need to have that humble, like, I don't know, anything about politics, or I don't follow that stuff. So if you're asking me what the difference between a Republican or a Democrat is, I'm like, I don't know. Like, but I also don't care. I'm like, who's going to do the best for me? And that's how this kind of goes. But speaking to like small business owners and people that I know, everybody has a voice. Everybody has something important to say. And I think that's important to get that out there, whether it's promoting themselves or whether it's like their personal struggles with everything. I mean, right now we're going through Corona, right? You were telling me that you're upstairs right now makeshift office upstairs in the bedroom, and then your wife is downstairs. She teaches second grade.
She teaches second grade, yeah.
So she's doing the homeschooling right now, right? She's pushing out all the lectures and using Zoom or whatever to kind of make that happen.
That's right. And in fact, today, that's what's on her plate is a Zoom meeting. And so it's interesting because, when it comes to the students, typically I don't know anything about them. I don't know the names. When she brings work stuff home to me, it's usually like, okay, so I have to teach this lesson. What am I going to do to make this go? And like, how, you know what I mean? And so you have this dynamic where you have to sort of isolate her to continue to honor that privacy, because it's incredibly important that people feel comfortable through this process. This is not easy. And it's here we're going to take away your income. We're going to, take away any information. That's what's really needed in all of this constantly is information. Everybody wants to make decisions and opinions and formulate based on these visceral feelings. And hey, I get that. I've responded with a lot of different types of emotion. I mean, I've had stuff that brought me down to tears, and my dad was shot and killed. I know what it feels like to have my life come to a halt before. So something like this, it was, I suppose, in my experience, a little bit easier to process, just because I've seen what it looks like when things just slam to a stop. And maybe it's a karmic lesson for me. I've gone through it. You go through it. Your dad passes away, your business crashes.
Yeah. I mean, what did you do in the past to get all this?
Excuse me.
Because you mentioned karma, right? So I mean, where does that come from?
Let me explain my version of karma. I got to tell you something. I don't know how this happened, but I'm married into a woman that is way too good for me, way too smart for me, way too good looking for me. And I think there's a piece of her that knows it, but she doesn't hold that over me. So that's a nice thing, I think.
Yet.
But she's a yogi teacher as well. She's gone through 500 hours of this, and she's got 10 years of this. She's just a teacher by nature. So the definition of karma that she and I have sort of come to understand is when you're just learning the same lesson over and over until you shift the way you think about it. It's not necessarily like you did this so that.
Right.
It's more, you know what I mean? So it starts small, and I'm noticing it. Raising children, they learn these little lessons, and then they may get it right. They may get very frustrated. I have 2 teenage girls now, so you don't know if it's going to be frustration or thing. And my older one just constantly, she's just so far beyond me, Right. It's crazy, man. But that's kind of the way I look at karma. And so there's something in there where, like, how did I react to life when my father passed away? I got angry. I was very resentful. I was upset for a very long time. In fact, that's how I got into the music business. I started a little band. We were okay. It wasn't anything great, but we were really tight people, and they wanted to support me personally. And all of a sudden, fans wanted to support me personally. And I swear to you, man, I'm playing in this band that, like, the players are pretty good, but I was sort of like not very talented, but I was a lot of fun to watch.
Right.
And so the whole audience, I mean, I remember this is how I got my first concert promoting gig. I had an audience of 200 people there to see us. They suffered through a 6 or 7 song set. For one moment, we held the middle finger up in the air and we said, "Fuck you" to the guy who shot my dad. And all of a sudden, this audience was like, "Yeah, fuck you, Jerry, woo!"
He wasn't there, right? You were just saying that, like.
No, he was locked up. It just was my way of lashing out. I mean,
a
year after my dad had passed away, as I started this thing. So it was a couple years into it, right? And it was just this natural healing process. Well, it started with this really nice, one of my best friends was a gal named Janine. And Janine is just this wonderful person, another person you should have on your show here. She works over at the Nevada Youth Empowerment Project. It's a local nonprofit that just helps, young girls transition out of situations that would lead them to bad situations, right? It's just a middle ground. She's a great person, supported me back then as a person. And sort of as I grew through this concert promoting thing, it's like anything. When people feel like they're getting something from you, you can you can take advantage of that relationship, or you can see how that, and I sort of went through this process like we all do. That's what the whole premise of my Storyteller project is about. That's why I'm thinking like, well, if I'm sitting here doing it, I might as well do it. But our situations are unique. Our lessons are universal. We're all going to learn exactly what I learned. I just learned it in a crazy way. Like I was one of those people that just never stopped pushing the boundary of a relationship. Now, I tried really hard not to break certain things. So I was, like, in my mind, cautious of people and their feelings and what was going on. But I just, it was uncontrolled. I was doing 250 shows a year in 6 different cities. I started buying national tours, managing national acts.
I mean, were you making good money then?
It was a very big company. It was a very large company to crash. I just built it backwards, dude. In a company like that, ordinarily, you would hire employees, build a network, and create infrastructure and build your brand. Instead, I sort of, because of the way I came into it solo from this experience at the Club Underground, which is now an electronic club on 4th Street.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've been familiar with the place for 20 years now. But it started with just this moment of people like Janine supporting me. And then it sort of grew where the people who were there for genuine and honest reasons were sort of leaving my circles, and people who were sort of not there for the most honest reasons started coming in. And by the end, I had this really big circle of friends where some of them might have been my friends, but other ones were not. And it's the same lesson. Again, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on over there. I'm not really watching.
There's a lot of stuff. I mean, Evan Rowe, asked him about the time he gave his autograph to Dave Navarro. So Evan was in your band. Was Evan in that first band you talked about?
Yeah, it was great to see Evan on your thing, man.
Yeah, Evan was on here a few days ago, a couple weeks ago or something. His podcast hasn't come out yet, but it's been on live, and we'll get him back on for promoting his business. But yeah, tell me about this.
Take a second. We got an hour here. Tell
he's
people what Evan's about, man.
No, well, Evan had a whole show. He's going to get a whole 30 minutes with me. He's going to get a whole 30 minutes to talk about his nonprofit and all that stuff. But really, really good dude. But I want to know this story. Dave Navarro, what happened there?
Well, hold on. Do you mind? I know this is the hard thing about the live stuff. No, you start to dry out. The host is trying to ask me a question to take a drink
I've been
of water.
Drinking.
I need a drink.
All right.
Of
well,
water.
You drink your out of your. So me and you sat. Oh, also Shane Whitecloud says hello. Did you hear that? Shane Whitecloud says hello.
Hey, I like Shane Whitecloud, man. Shane Whitecloud and I had a funny experience. Shane's a deep guy. He's got some depth to him, and well, we won't get sidebarred. I'll tell that one another day. Dave Navarro. It wasn't just Dave Navarro. As I mentioned, I started to go. This is a very funny time because this is the transition period where I was sort of starting to exhibit some ostentatious behaviors because that group of people who kind of loved and supported me was getting a laugh out of it and having fun. And like any scene of things, I guess. I mean, I was just a sceney band douchebag, like every sceney band douchebag, right? But we went to a thing called the NAMM show, and here we're in this little local band putting on our big britches and going to this thing. The NAMM show is a big convention. So basically from the middle of December till the middle of January, the music industry kind of shuts down for the holidays. And the NAMM show is kind of the flag that goes, all right, let's all go on tour again. Well, at this NAMM show, all of these music companies, instrument companies, cable companies, everybody that supports the touring business gathers in Anaheim. And all of the rock stars on earth that you can imagine have to come to this convention center and sit in these booths and sign autographs as part of their endorsement deals for these companies. So you have some very major people that are all sort of accessible and just walking around you. So it's high security, and it's a really entertaining show. Well, Evan got us badges because Evan's an interesting guy. He's kind of like Barney Stinson's guy. When you need something,
he's the guy, right? Yeah.
Evan's a guy to go to talk to, and especially now watching his fitness. If if there's anybody watching this thing with you and I, you know, if it's just you and I talking, I don't know, but if anybody's looking for a fitness, especially if you're on the overweight side of things, you got to go talk to Evan. I mean, the guy
life-changing side. I mean, he completely transformed everything. Super inspiring.
So I'm having probably something going on in my personal life that was causing a little bit of turmoil this particular day at the Nan show. So I was basically harassing the rock stars walking around this place. But I wasn't being like your concert dick that's like yelling at the security guard. I was trying to do it in ways that would make them want to engage me. But I was playing this game that let them know, like, I'm a bigger rock star than you. I know that about myself. Now, I haven't done anything that proves that or backs that up.
Right.
But in my mind,
I'm killing it. Yeah.
So I went right up to Dave Navarro, and they sort of told me to get in line. And he had this particularly long line around these booths. And I was like, I don't really want to stand in the line to talk to him, but I do sort of want to like talk to him, get his attention, but I don't want to negatively get his attention.
Right.
So I wrote my autograph down on a piece of paper, and I just walked up and cut the line and put it on the counter, and I pushed it over to him, and I go, "You need to save that, sir. That'll make a funny story, son." You know, something. Right. Evan will correct me. I don't remember what I said to him, but I handed him my autograph and said some smug thing with a smile, and he smiled back.
That's bold. I like that. So, me and you, we met, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago. We didn't meet. We sat down to coffee at Starbucks like 3 years ago or so. And you had another thing you were and this is entrepreneur side, you had another business venture that you were going through that you were telling me about. It was a book of sorts, right? Like a series of books.
Oh, man.
But.
Yeah, so.
The point of the story. You remember
the deeper stuff. That's nice.
Yeah. The point of this story is that we were talking about water consumption, and you had just started doing yoga again, probably because of your wife. And you pulled out this freaking water bottle that you still have to this day. I'm assuming it's a different water bottle. This is a juice bottle, and now you've put a leash on it. So you gave me this explanation. You gave me this explanation on why you drink out of this bottle. And then we were actually even talking about, and this was like our ramble for like 15 minutes on how we could actually get these bottles made based off of the way that you feel bottles should be made. So tell me why you drink out of this. Is it a Cuties? Like, what is it, an orange juice bottle?
Well, so I'll tell you the cheat, actually. It's not exactly the same bottle. It is and it isn't.
Right.
I use it for as long as I can. The bottle itself has a shelf life before you sort of can't wash it anymore, and it's a little melted and doesn't hold the lid on and stuff. But my wife drinks almond milk, and it's in this bottle.
Yep.
And when I very first met her, the first one I got was a Cuties jug, Cuties orange juice. But there's just something about here. Let me see if I can hold this up, I guess. There's something about the shape of this where I can just kind of hold it in my hand here. It's always felt comfortable, the way it hangs, so my arm kind of free. And once I got in the habit of carrying it, I started to drink more water, you know. So between that and the yoga she had me doing, you know, I mean, think about how your muscle builds. The protein sort of builds on the top, but whatever you're consuming is just building onto your body. So me at the time when I met my wife, it was a lot of Burger King and like Hostess donuts and stuff that bachelors do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had a pantry full of Oreos. Actually, I'll tell you a story. One time she was over late at night. It was probably 2 a.m. We were watching TV, and I got up and I went into my top drawer and I pulled out some Pop-Tarts, and she was just like, and I just looked at her and I was like, fat kid problems. I didn't have anything to say.
Right.
But so this yoga and water comes along, and it sort of stretches out the muscle, right? So imagine your muscle, which is porous. It's got some holes in it. The yoga begins to stretch it. Right. So all that stuff that's not protein and part of the muscle is now just basically sitting in the hole. So the water, which I was consuming a ton of, was coming behind and just flushing these holes of all this crap, sugars and fats and whatever was just sitting in there.
Right.
So I got like a 3-month just cleanse of just water and yoga, and she was feeding me like sweet potatoes and black beans and rice and, you know.
Right.
So it was like 3 months went by and I dropped like 40 pounds and all of a sudden I was looking svelte.
Right.
And then Raz Yoga happened and I went work a gastropub and I got a little dumpy again. So
it's tough. Yeah, it's tough working. Oh my God. Yeah. When I did restaurant stuff, that was like the hardest thing was maintaining. I mean, my first job was McDonald's when I was 13. And
good
so
for you.
All I did was eat.
A lot of kids won't bite that bullet.
My daughter's 13 now, and I was trying to explain to her, like, get a job. I'm like, go get a job. It's time for you to get a job. Get out of my house. And she's like, I'm only 13. And I'm like, dude, I was 13 riding my bike a mile every day. I was a manager when I was 14, and I was eating pickled chicken nugget sandwiches every day, just dipping them. And my friends all got free food. It was
that's
fun.
the trick right there, is motivating them.
Yeah.
You can get something out of this McDonald's job.
You want
literally
friends?
Be the nugget master.
Yeah. Well, back when I was at McDonald's is when they did the whole 29-cent Wednesday and 39-cent Sunday promotions. I don't know if you remember that.
I lived my high school life on this.
Right. So I got 50% off. So every Sunday my dad would come and we had to limit it at 20 sandwiches per order. So my dad would come around and order 20 sandwiches. I give him 50% off. So he'd end up spending it was like $4 or something for 20 cheeseburgers. And he'd drive around again and do it again because it was 20 per order. So he'd go home with like 40 cheeseburgers. So when I got home, I literally would just like eat like 6 or 7 cheeseburgers back to back, not knowing that each one was like 600 calories per.
Yeah.
I ate I don't know how I'm not dead, but I ate like shit back then.
Yeah, man.
Oh my God.
And they want the same thing. These kids just have different versions of it. Now it's Raising Cane's, and it's interesting to sort of relive the high school experience through having 2 high school daughters now.
Yeah.
And so many things. I mean, dude, having daughters just changed my world. It was like,
how old are they now?
I'd never really been able to connect with seeing the world through the eyes of a female before. And my wife was very good at that. She introduced me to how her emotions work. I had done a pretty good job of trying to close all that off,
Right.
Bill Burke speaks to me so much because the guy's just constantly talking about like pulling his stuff off the shelf and opening it.
Yeah.
But I love stuff like that. I mean, we all have to go through it. So it's watching these kids grow and go through this high school experience where they create, like, we're all hanging out at In-N-Out Burger, which I'm happy to see that In-N-Out's still I was hanging out at In-N-Out at one point.
I don't think In-N-Out's ever going away, to be honest, man. Like it's never going to go. Like, it's
God
always
willing, brother.
Freaking busy, right? It's like no matter when I go, like even when it opened, like whatever, like 6, 7, 8 years, I don't know. But like it was busy. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be busy for a while. But every time I go, my kids call me like, yeah, we need In-N-Out. I'm like, okay, the line is freaking, this is like before quarantine. I'm like, you can't get inside. The line's always long. So they're doing well. I think they're always doing well. They have a good cult following and they have an easy menu, but holy crap, it's always busy. How old are your daughters now?
16 and 13.
Ooh, yeah. So I have a 13, 10, and 11. No, 13, 11, and 9, and then a 2-year-old boy.
Wow.
So I'm just a little bit behind you. Right now, it's tough, man. Having girls is tough. That emotional detachment that I have to life, they definitely have all the emotions pushing out, and I just don't know what to say.
They're just smart, girls are smart. Little girls are smart from the start. And in fact, I think what's going to demonstrate community is really kind of how we treat and allow our women to be treated during this time, because a lot of the stuff that defines a strong community is just fundamentally based on strong women and the respect of that and how that looks. And so, they knew it from the start. My little daughter challenges me all the time on stuff. And it's, I got to say that there's a lot of times where I have to back down and be like, okay, I've never looked at it that way. It's still in like a kid to adult way. Sounds crazy, but I see the point you're making.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's,
right.
You just watch it. But it is crazy. And I got lucky. I nerd out really hard on one video game and one video game. I've never played video games.
What game?
Video game guy. I played it when I was 19. And then again, periodically in my life, I would just close myself off for 2 weeks, play it for like 2 weeks straight, and then go out with like a fresh sense of the world. The game is called Final Fantasy VII.
It's
And
relaunch, right? Do you have the relaunch?
I can't wait to see it. No, I don't have
It's
it,
out.
but I'm just introducing Abby to the old one
Right.
now. She has
Right.
about 4 hours logged in it.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I beat it, played it, bunch, gold chocobo, super Asian nerd kid, right? So it's out again. So they did a remaster after announcing it for like 5 years for PlayStation. So it's out now. You can get it now. Xbox is what I have, so I'm waiting for it to come out. But I was that way with Final Fantasy VII, which I think it's a cult for everybody. I played all the Final Fantasies. I haven't played the last couple just because it totally changed. But also like Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if you played Kingdom Hearts before, but it's Final Fantasy. Square made it, but with Disney characters too. So it's a lot of the Final Fantasy people and Disney put together, and it's like sword fighting, and it's freaking epic.
Right now, during this time of COVID-19, I will try anything. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was all Final Fantasy VII. She's getting into it. One of the things that I think grabbed her was the notion that she gets to name these characters and engage with them. And that's really kind of what the game did for me in a weird way. I mean, if you can figure out these relationships amongst these characters, it sort of helps you reconcile yourself, because the game offers certain. Here's an example for your viewers. There are 3 women in the game essentially, and 1 man in the game that are really closely connected to your main character.
Right.
And if you choose throughout the game to only talk to certain women, unless it's vital to continue the game, then essentially the game starts lining you up for which one of these characters will ask you on a date, right? So depending on how you talk to them, just naturally as you're navigating the game, this thing's like helping you sort yourself out, because it's putting you in front of all these thousands of different characters with mind frames. And so it's kind of an interesting thing when you start to compare all that to your life. But watching her get into it and understand it is,
see how her mindset's working, and it's fun. I like games like that. It's definitely an RPG game. It's one of those 30, 60 hour games. I mean, I think I played it for like 120 hours trying to get the extra stuff that I had to like buy books for, because we didn't have Google back then. So I had to buy books. And then they're like, yeah, if you want to do this, you have to do this spell. And then you have to get like, this gem. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know how this is happening. I keep dying.
It's so many things. I mean, the whole game is just a constant thing of decisions. And then it's nice. I mean, it gets you sorted as a kid when you're trying to figure out how to make your decisions in your day, because sometimes they don't understand why it's important, a simple act of getting out of their bed or cleaning their room. They're just like, why? It's my room and I don't care. It's kind of like, well, but that's like tied to your very being. If your space is messy, then something is messy inside, and we have to figure out what that is.
Right. There should be a reason to be doing that. How are you guys doing? I know that, working from home and everything, how are you guys doing with COVID, with Corona? I know that you follow it pretty well on your social media posts. I know that you have a lot to say, and I've always known you have a lot to say. So I actually like reading your posts, because you are very well thought out when you type, or I am not. I am very like, this shit pisses me off. I hate this. I want money. And then I'll get like 100 people comment on like, hey, Jeremy, you okay? And I'm like, this is how I talk. But you're very like the way you talk now. You think about it, you type it, you say it, and it makes sense, and it's very nice. What's going on in your brain right now with everything that's happening?
Well, I'll first thank you for that. That's, what you're speaking to, actually, to be honest, is just the faith aspect of my life. Allowing a little bit of God into my life helped me to shift just from like reacting with whatever feeling I was having, because I got the same it pisses me off moments as everybody. I mean, I see stuff, particularly I don't follow the federal politics as much, because I try not to let that big picture affect my world. I just like to know the narrative, know that I'm being good and fair with everybody as best as I can. But the local stuff, it can sometimes frustrate you when you see certain actions. And so I look at that a little bit more. But it really just is, it's a faith, man. I allowed a version of myself in that just lets me process the feeling that I'm having, let it do the work on me that it's trying to do, and then sort it out with being nice to everybody. There's a big part of me that believes, first of all, okay, it's about COVID-19. in the concert business, when someone's telling me right now, we might not be doing anything till 2022. I'm like, okay, great. So all these right now problems with unemployment and all that, that is super frustrating. I'm frustrated by it, but not nearly as frustrated by the fact that somebody's telling me they're going to put me out of work potentially for 2 years before we even know what's going on. We need information. We need testing. We need to have continued success. And that's why I do ultimately fall on the side of like, look, just stay where you are for a minute. It's not that long. I know it's hard to be still at first, meditate, do some yoga, play some Guitar Hero, whatever your thing is. But in the long term, I also don't think, you know, when I hear the mayor of Los Angeles saying, we're not going to do any concerts or sporting events till 2021. Okay, with the sporting events, maybe you don't need to start mid-season. I could see why the business might benefit from that. But with the concerts, why are we holding this back when we don't need to announce things that far ahead when the information is changing by the hour? We don't
have all the information now. Right. So, I mean, I would rather them, do like a weekly update, weekly basis, what they're thinking. But we don't know what's going to happen in the winter. We don't know what's, if they build a vaccine or something. So, that stuff frustrates me as well. So I totally understand that.
But I try to be sensitive to the other side of things too, right? Because I'll walk you down here's the line of me. This is the side that's like the blind guy and the guy that sees, I guess. Because the blind guy is very angry, very angry. I have 3 businesses all shut down. I qualify for very little. The backbone of our economy type situation. You, me, many people like us. How many people are probably blowing that thing up if anybody's watching this, that we're going through this? Additionally, my coffee shop is burglarized and I have $1,200 worth of losses in the middle. So any semblance of a stimulus is out the door. I mean, that's what's going on. We're all stuck at home. If my shop's open, there was some circumstances to that, but the security guy, he's a great guy, but he made some errors. But, the reality is I get why people want to go out there and protest, because if you firmly believe that this is just made up, that would lead to some things. If you firmly believe that it's totally real, but that you can overcome it and that most people are going to overcome it and that you're willing to suffer a few losses and you don't want your freedoms, hey, I see why you're mad and upset and protesting. I, just as a guy in the middle, am kind of like, hey, can you just sit for like 2 weeks? I don't like what's going on any more than anybody. But like, if I have to give my governor 2 weeks, we put him in there. We need to give him the time to do what he thinks he's going to do. Now, if it becomes clear that he's just, wants to just show everybody that he can keep them locked up and grab, if it's a cash grab for funding and that sort of thing, there you get into the federal stuff, all these companies taking big money and all that. I'll believe it. Hey, Steak Shack, are you listening? If you send me a check of that 10 million, I'll believe you give a fuck. Anyway. But that's how I feel about it.
I love how Zoom works, because even though you're yelling, it modified your voice to look like you weren't yelling. So it's like still the same audio.
That's
so it's not like a regular mic. Like my mic here, if I start yelling at it, it's going to, spike. But yours.
Well, later when I have to justify that action to Steak Shack, I'll be able to say, it just looked like I was yelling. Didn't you hear the audio straight?
Yeah, I wasn't yelling. No, and I think honestly, like, we're all in the same, we all are in the same boat, but we all feel the same way. And I think that a lot of the people are just afraid to talk. People, even though they're on social media, they're afraid to say something because somebody's going to say something opposite. And I'm the same way. Like, I can't get too far out, because then I'll have somebody post something. My social media is full of Karens who come and message me after I post something on how I'm insensitive to another group. If I make fun of Asians, and I do it all the time because that's what I am, I'll get somebody that says, hey, you shouldn't make fun of Asians. Asians are going through a lot of stuff right now, especially coronavirus and all that. And I'm sitting there like, no. Like, I can do it because that is me, and block you. Like, block me. And so that's
meanwhile, though, same people floating a meme around that says, do midgets have to stay 3 feet away? that's not any less insensitive. That's a horrendous thing to say. If you're going to, practice what you preach. I worked with Mini Kiss for a little bit, actually, and those guys are awesome. But explicitly in their rider, it says there will be no mention of the word midget. Understand how offensive this fucking word is from the start, and we'll be okay.
I'm so afraid of saying any words to anybody. Like, I'm afraid of saying anything. Like, I don't know what's allowed to be said and what's not, so I'm very PC about that. How are the girls doing?
The internet's always hypocritical. That's why I'm patient with it now. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you, Papa.
Yeah. How are the girls doing with homeschooling right now? High school, are they both in high school, or is one in 8th grade?
So the one is leaving 8th grade. And actually, I'll tell you this school closure, especially, I guess everybody kind of saw it coming in a way, that we were going to be closing the rest of the year. But there's just something about hearing it and having another level of whether or not COVID-19 is like a real serious lethal threat or something where in a year, I'd rather say we did too much than not enough personally. So that's where I fall. But this hit them hard because my wife first, Heather is a beautiful, sensitive, just everything about her looks at the world right. It's what I am doing here. And she wept a little bit because she said there were things that I wanted to teach these kids. I feel like they're going to have a 1-month gap in their 2nd grade learning for the rest of their lives because this was taken away from me.
I agree.
And that's her, general feeling on it. The girls, they're thriving. I mean, imagine a world where your kids don't have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. Talk about all the things that are like a drag for kids to do is get up that early, but you did it. I did it. There's a lot of generations before us did it. But now they're getting up whenever they want. I mean, personally, I believe in that sort of learning anyway, because I think everything can be productivity based. I would much rather see a guy tell me I knocked out this much work in 25 hours than tell me I was here for 60 hours of my life this week. And it's the same amount of work. I mean, let's give these kids a chance to show us what they can do. Because my older one's constantly impressive. She's, she's just a brilliant kid, man. I mean, what can you do? And you see them start to thrive at home. And, high school is a hard place, especially now. All these kids have access to so much horrendous content. And they're taking it into these places where there's 2,000 kids who may or may not be exposed. It's not just COVID-19. COVID-19 is just the one internet thing that sort of jumped into reality and exposed us.
Right.
But these kids are going 2,000 at a time into a building where they're just showing each other stuff. Did you watch this YouTube video? Did you see?
I know it's insane. I remember in high school for us, phones were just coming out. Right. It was just the start of cell phones. And you weren't allowed to show it at school. If you went into school with a cell phone, the teacher would take it, flip phones, Nokia, whatever. We were just playing Snake, doing that stuff. But now they can fully go in with their phones, and then they're just sitting on their lockers, going through their phone. The social media aspect is insane. And it's a different world where when I went to school, it was literally find your friends as fast as you can, talk to them, update them, go to class, and then find them in between classes. And that's how it was. It's all crazy, man. So we have what I want to do is I want to kind of pull back here and focus on what you're doing, things that are going on in your life. I know we kind of mentioned the restaurant. You have a piano there. You have a horn. What's going on with you that you kind of are excited about? What's your passion right now?
Well, I alluded to this project, so I'll tell you a little bit about it because that's what's starting to take up the space for me now. Mm-hmm. A little before this COVID thing, like I said, it's a coffee shop and a food cart and a concert business. And the concert business is great. I mean, if you are okay with accepting how the business actually works, it's the kind of business, I'm sure it's not unlike photography. You get these guys that come in with a make a quick buck mindset to the promoting business, and it really makes a mess of how things actually work. So the market's kind of finally on this place where everybody's doing their own thing and it's coexisting peacefully, and you've got a lot of success. And, I got into the concert world because it just made me so happy to see a room full of people just turning a beer upside down on their own head and like screaming and going nuts and forgetting that their boss is a dick and like their wife's yelling at them, whatever. People are very happy in that room. And so I went, okay, let's do what we can do to capture the magic of this. And it's no joke, brother. I mean, doing a concert is not an easy business. Wyatt Perkins will tell you. He'd be another fun one to have on here because he's really the guy that's doing it. I'm sort of just in a position where I know those people. The building owner is the guy who owns Tonic Lounge. I worked with him for years. So it was this really nice situation where I didn't have to it's their thing, but I get the chance to be able to be like, well, here's what I think is a good look. But that magic is something that I really value. And it's a very important part of who we are as people. So COVID kills that. And so, Wyatt and I are talking about putting together like an entertainment contract that we would put out, spend 10 grand on somebody who's just doing some kind of, everybody's at home. I'm watching my feed fill up with people playing guitars and, doing their art and all this great stuff. And I'm like, well, we live in an age where the media of that goes across many, many platforms. So I would work with anybody. So maybe we can run some kind of a program where, we can get some participants to sign up and that sort of thing. That's one thing we're trying to do to combat some of this. I do have some stuff that's still in the books, and as of now, it sort of looks unaffected. Some really great, I've got a really, really great show coming up at the Grand Sierra Theater. The artist is called Jason Isbell. He's bringing another act called Billy Strings. Billy Strings is out of this world, man. I mean, the guy's he's incredible. And it's shows about a third sold, probably a little bit more, and it's selling tickets again. There was a point during this COVID thing where it literally stopped selling tickets altogether, and I just
that sucks. Yeah. When is it?
July 31st.
Okay.
So I'm kind of looking at it now. It's like, okay, well, if the state's sort of reopening by middle of May into early June, that still gives me 2 months before of a window. And if this thing really is bad enough that it has to expand into July, then, the show will reschedule. We'll reschedule it. It's just painful. I mean, you're just sort of watching your income hang in the balance of whether or not we're healthy enough to go back, or whether or not we've stopped the spread enough to go back, or whether or not we're, being honest about our own health if we're going back, or this thing. So it sort of led me to, if I'm in confinement, and this is what I do for a living, this is what I'll do. So for the past, let's call it 16 months, I've been composing a musical project. It's kind of a symphony of tracks by the band The Who, with a couple of other ones in there. I think there's an Aerosmith song and a Bad Company song. And I was able to hire a national DJ to sort of take these songs and remix them into something that is a little bit more of like a mood symphony. And then I will come out and sort of tell the story of what I've been through, what I've stepped through, starting with my dad being shot, going through 15 years of concert business and, seeing every state in the union multiple times, and managing Andre Nicotina and taking him on tour for 18 months. And, we sort of went through all this stuff. And when I just grown it to where it was so big that it was too big for one person to ever even consider trying to do by themselves. So that it ultimately collapsed in a pretty hard way. I mean, a lot of people lost out there in terms of, it just looked like this COVID thing when something crashes down. And so I had that experience going back to the karmic expression. And so now this COVID thing, I'm just handling totally differently, and it's allowing me to go in my artist space and experience my own voice a little bit. And that's really what it's about. You talked about when we met, it's sort of a series of books that coincides with a musical piece that coincides with a live piece. And I've been talking with the DJ. We're thinking about doing this Zoom live setup. Maybe there's some way that you can help us to to do that on your platform, because I think it'd be fun. I admit that the weakest part of my game is the freestyle, but while I'm doing it, you might as well start to let people know what you're doing.
Right.
And so, you know, I appreciate this again, because it's a nice opportunity to sort of introduce, you know, because I do have the ultimate name, Brandon DeRiso.
I know,
Who the
man.
fuck is Brandon DeRiso?
You know, I don't know. Yeah, like you have to have like oh man, you got to get like a logo of like your face on like a chips bag or something. You know, like like your last name is in like the Doritos logo, but with your name.
Why stop here?
Yeah,
we talked to Steak Shack. Hey, Doritos, if you'd like to make a Hall & Oates Storyteller flavored Dorito, I got a recipe. I've been in the kitchen now several years. I know some things. We could hook it up. Doritos, give me a ring.
Yeah, Doritos, if you're listening to this podcast, that'd be great.
You're listening to our conversation.
Yeah, sponsor this. We're cool. We'll give away some free Doritos to people. I love that. So, do you want to do a little riff there? You want to play a little something while we have you? We have a good like 5-6 minutes left here. I
got a new printer, and I printed out a couple of songs that I just wanted to learn. This one here, I speak about this kind of two versions of myself. There was a window of about 6 months where I transitioned from like being just a really negative individual to a much more positive individual. And part of that transition was a depressive state where not only was I experiencing depression, but I was watching my home sort of depress around me in terms of the clutter, rooms outside being messy. And I found myself, you know, my house had just sort of squeezed me into my bathroom. And I set up an office in the bathroom, and I just listened to this song on repeat. So I'm just going to play this little, because I just learned this little piece for this. And I'm probably going to mess it up a couple times. But you can tell me what it is.
I know that. What is that?
You do know that. Whoa, pirates, yes, they rob I. Sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I needed that, you know, at the time.
Yeah.
So that's a little short one. I'll give you a little bit more of this one, and we can probably, you know, close out.
Yeah, man. And I'm going to give you a little time to just do one last pimp out of everything that you're doing and how people can find you and all that fun stuff.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
This is the one that I hear you're not allowed to play. I messed those up.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I wouldn't have known if you didn't make the face. Good job. So, I mean, are you just teaching yourself now? Is that how it's going?
Well, so I took lessons for about a year. I have a beginner book. I actually probably only got through about 5 months of my lessons, if I'm being honest.
Right.
But I would sit down and continue to practice from the book when I had the time. You know, time just became so scarce that introducing the idea of learning a whole instrument like this into 4 businesses was never going to happen.
Right.
But I was able to do some practice, and now that I'm getting back into it, I got this nice new printer. I'm sort of just printing out music that's speaking to me. So right now,
I love that.
It's Redemption Song and The Stairway, because Redemption Song, if I do go live with the DJ and we do start to look at that project, I'll probably end up playing the full song and singing it properly rather than just like nervously belting it into my phone live.
Right.
But you know,
you did good. No, I didn't see the nerves. I mean, but yeah, like I said, it's just, you know, a conversation between me and you, and that's better than I can do. I mean, I have a guitar, we have a keyboard. I don't know anything about it. I just go on and like, I always go fast.
I'd sit here and jam with you on Zoom anytime. I mean, we can be sixth grade musicians on a guitar.
6 months. I'm going to call Evan. He's going to teach me stuff. And then he's going to teach me one song. And then that'll be my song. Like I was telling him, like I want to be that guy that's like, you know, you're at a party and there's a piano or something. And you're like, hey, do you mind if I just jump on that piano real quick. And people are like, this guy can't play. And all of a sudden I just belt out this like, and then leave, or have a guitar and just sing to one person in the middle of like a busy party. That's the guy I want to be. But then if they want an encore, I'm out because I only know one song. That's my fantasy.
We so Brandon, Bad Company said it. You can live your rock and roll fantasy.
I want it. That's all I care about. I watch all these 90s, date movies, and that's what they do. And then if we can all get together and do a massive flash dance that nobody rehearsed for, I would like that as well. Tell me how people can contact you, why they're contacting you, what's going on. Just give yourself a little plug here, and then we'll wrap that up with this interview.
Well, I'll be honest. You can find me on the Facebook page. I'm kind of in a mode where I'm not really putting anything out. So I'm in a don't call me, I'll call you situation. But feel free to add me and let's talk and get to know. I like that sort of thing. Cool. But I'm not really doing much for business that way. I will say that like the stuff that I have going is going to be a lot of fun. I'm doing a show July 17th with Demi Burnett from ABC's The Bachelor. I think that's going to be a fun night. We're doing like a whole dating game thing, Bachelor trivia, and she's going to host. And I think there may be some other people. Could be on film. I'm not sure if they're filming it or if it's just a party. A couple of bands coming in. I mean, it's the kind of thing that's like the perfect, let's celebrate being out of this middle of July. So I'm just going to keep being prayerful to get through this thing and get done in June and get back to doing things that we all need to do and want to do. And be kind in the meantime. I mean, be patient, especially with the people around you. Be willing to listen, be willing to talk, be willing to accept. I heard somebody tell me I don't need to hear a racist speak. Well, maybe I do. I want to hear that person speak because I want to know where they've malfunctioned.
Right.
And I can decide for myself if I just need to stay away from them. And I've had plenty of those kinds of experiences. But if there's something about that person that can be enlightened, I'm always down to be a part of that. So, just some guy from Reno. What are you gonna do?
I love it. I'm guilty of losing the art of conversation. I feel like everybody's so triggered and everybody's so they're right about everything that they can't hear the other side. And I think once people start to focus on listening to what other people have to say, figuring out why they're saying it, and putting yourself in their shoes, then we all might eventually figure out that we can have a conversation without attacking somebody's mindset or personality or looks at the same time.
True. Or their eye patch.
Or their eye patch. I know. Everybody's telling you to bring it back, dude. There's a bunch of people like, bring back the eye patch, get some logos.
I got one. I got an eye patch around here. It's probably close by. That's autographed by Chino Moreno from the Deftones. They came here and played the Grand Sierra, and I was actually sitting at a blackjack table, and he came down and popped a seat next to me, and he's looking at me for a second, and I could tell he wanted to be that Nikki Beach dickhead that assumed that I was just doing it for fun. But he kind of looked at me for a second, and this is how he asked this is how he broke the ice. He said, "Can I sign it?" Yeah, man. I leaned in. He took out a silver Sharpie.
You kept it on?
Yeah, I got a Chino eye patch around here.
You're like, do it.
It's a fun life, dude. The rock and roll life is a fun life.
Well, you take it with a good stride. I mean, like I said, that's a whole other side of it, because some people can get very triggered by stuff like that. But I'm the same way. Everything's a joke to me. Everything's fun, and why not until somebody makes it weird. All right, let's stay on the line. I'm going to say bye to Facebook here. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been commenting on all your stuff. So if you guys are watching this, please don't forget to subscribe to Raw Focus anywhere you can find your podcasts. Say bye, Brandon.
Take care. Thank you.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much, dude. That was awesome. How did it go?
I had a great time, man. That was fun. That's exactly what I hoped for. Just a conversation where I could get a little wild, show some personality. And
you did great.
I appreciate that.
It was a fun little convo. And man, I'm glad you guys are doing well. I'm glad you guys are pushing through everything. This is just my way of kind of touching base with everybody and, making sure everybody's okay and living life. And just, like I said, I feel like I don't know anybody anymore just because I'm so stuck in my own world.
I feel you. Well, on that thing I was talking about, what we really want to do is put out a 10K contract that would essentially so here's my idea of this, and maybe you can help me run this in some way. But I'm picturing people sort of signing up through an application process, like a $35 application fee situation. Right. They submit the application and their video of them doing their little talent on the channel. And we put all of those up for voting, and it's basically just whoever gets the most reactions is going to win that deal. The 10,000 will break out into $1,000 cash for the winner. But then we want to, depending on who wins, it could be a musician, it could be an actor, it could be whoever. I mean, we'll take any sort of entertainment. But depending on who wins, we'll break out sort of how we're going to spend that 10 grand. But no matter which direction, music, acting, any sort of art, we're going to need some photography and video. So I think there's probably a $2,000 budget in there for you somewhere if we get this thing launched. What I don't want to do is launch it and have like 7 people sign up and shell out 10 grand for some nobody who's never gone anywhere. Right. At least if I get somebody that has some talent, we can put them, that's the other part where that 10 grand goes. We put them in a record studio and put out some music on Spotify and whatever.
Well, I'm easy. I mean, I do this professionally, so it's never really upfront for me on anything. So let me know how I can help, and then we'll deal with it later. And if it becomes a multi-billion-dollar thing, then that's when I'll come asking for more.
Well, when it comes down to the time to actually do the shooting, it'll be cash that day. I mean, I want to just pay it and be done with it. But cool. I will say that it could be a little bit of a process before I get there. But it is something that, like, if I'm working with you and maybe like, I don't even know who else, it would be maybe like a magazine or a recording studio, like I said, or one of these. But if I can get a package put together, then that's ideal, because then some money can flow both ways. We could potentially get some more distance out of that. Everybody sort of needs to be a part of it from the start.
Keep me posted. All right, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate this. You guys enjoy. Oh my God, my video stopped.
Now, is this something you can send me over?
So it's going to be live on Facebook. Well, it saves onto my page. So you can actually share that, do whatever you want with that. People are tagging you, so you can actually go back and you can comment through them while everybody was tagging you and asking you questions and stuff. So you can share that on your page directly, and then once the podcast is up, you just share that. So so it's all stuff that's made for easy sharing and online stuff. So I kept it pretty simple. Yeah, man.
That was great, man. You run a tight ship, and your studio looks good.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I always feel like I got to buy more stuff and keep going. So you never know. You never know. All right, man. You have a good day.